Enjoy the rest of the concert.
Welcome to the Filmcast review of the new M. Night Shyamalan movie, Trap. I'm going to read the plot summary from the internet. Quote, a man and his teenage daughter realize they're at the center of a dark and sinister event while watching a concert, end quote. Well, for our review of Trap, which has its setting at a concert, I thought, what better guest to get for this episode than somebody who also frequently has dark and sinister events happening at their concerts. He is one half of the band The Midnight. And also, that's actually underselling his accomplishments because he's also the creator of the current Filmcast theme song. Tim McEwan, welcome to the Filmcast.
Woo! Welcome to me. Thank you so much for having me, guys. This is a true geek out moment for me. I've been listening to you guys for 12 years, 12 or 13 years.
Insane.
For real.
Wow.
So this is, and I know I'm only on here because I begged you to come on. Like, let's not kid anyone.
I mean, here's the thing: is when did you create The Midnight, Tim?
Around the same time. Actually.
Around the same time. So
right after.
I think it's fair to say that like literally all of your success
is after I knew about you guys.
Is derived from your listenership and fandom.
It's like a contact high.
Yeah.
Of
So
the
I need
Filmcast,
to
right?
Venmo you 50% of all my income in perpetuity, essentially, is what you're saying.
No money is necessary. Just the credit is fine.
But your tone is
Dave.
menacing and threatening.
Dave
some
does
great
not
Patreon
negotiate
tiers.
on behalf of the Filmcast.
Can I just, before we go into the movie review, can I just, I wrote a limerick.
In fact,
wow.
I wrote a double limerick to sort of I should have framed this. My thoughts about being on this podcast are best summed up in the form of a limerick.
Oh wow. Okay. Let's hear it.
If I may, a dramatic
Let's hear it.
reading.
Yes. Ooh.
Now, I'm only doing this because I know the pressure is always on Jeff, and quite frankly, I don't appreciate the tyrannical way in which you run this show, David.
Thank you. Somebody finally.
I got your back,
Wow.
Jeffrey.
Thank
Just know
you.
that. Anyway, okay. No. Okay, that's me. Okay, here we go. First, let me just stretch and get limber. I'm nervous. It's like a date on Tinder because I've been listening for years, and it will bring me to tears if I let down Jeff, David, and Devindra.
Oh, yay.
Fandom can be fickle, but I stayed. 12 years? That's more than a decade. But I am not worthy. I'm just a fangirly. Just know that my whole year has been made.
Oh, that's
amazing.
lovely. Yay.
Thank you.
Well done.
Well
End
done.
scene.
I'm
And
off the
I'm out of
hook.
character, guys. I'm out of character.
Tim, this is really weird because I wrote a synthwave song.
Love it. And it's going to be the new single for the Midnight, and I didn't even know it.
Mhm.
Hey, all jokes aside, if there is any person listening to this that has not listened to the Midnight,
Yes.
setting aside,
First of all, that's literally impossible.
doing what
because-
you've all
listened to The
because they
Midnight.
listen
Thanks
to
to
it
us.
every
Yeah.
day when they
Thanks to
listen to the
us, yeah.
podcast. But
well,
yes.
that's right. You get a little taste of Tim's
Dulcet tones.
Yes.
amazing talent
Yes,
at the
that's right.
beginning of every episode. But setting aside any kind of personal relationship I have with Tim, the Midnight is
Which is mainly
legitimately
monetary. I Venmo him to be my friend.
Yes, this is.
Sure. It's understood.
I'm getting 50% of the 50%.
Yeah.
No, legitimately, the Midnight is my favorite band. Is my favorite of
That's
bands that are
amazing.
still alive. The Midnight reigns supreme.
Yeah.
Thank
Indeed.
you
I'm
for
not putting you
putting in.
above Prince, but other than that,
If
Isn't
zombie
that-
prints
The
were resurrected,
criteria
I'm
is
sorry.
that you have to be breathing.
Yes. As long as
I
you have a
made
pulse.
that, baby.
somehow I
indeed.
turned this huge compliment into less than one. But I truly
Yes.
Thank you, man.
download, get on your favorite music service, whatever you need to do. Listen to any of their albums; they're all incredible. The music is wonderful.
Thank
Indeed,
you so much.
indeed.
I appreciate it. And I pulling back the curtain a little bit, and this all started by, I've been listening to you guys. I also have been listening to the DLC podcast, which is Jeff's podcast with Christian Spicer on the side, whom I had dinner with the other day. No biggie, don't worry about it. We met. I tweeted at Jeff back in like 2016, I think, after
Yeah.
you were reviewing Stranger Things, and I just was following you, and I tweeted at you like, "Hey, if you like the '80s, you might like our music." And I sent you our song "Sunset,"
No,
which is one of our
honestly,
songs.
I think what happened was I think I tweeted out why aren't there
what it
saxophone
was.
solos in songs anymore?
Yeah,
And
or
he said,
it was
have I got a song for you?
Well, that song doesn't have saxophone, but
That's
but
true.
I know. But you said something about the music. Why doesn't music? I don't know. It makes me nostalgic for a time period or something.
Yeah.
And you when I like this, and we started talking, and I just sort of became friendly with you guys, you and Christian, and we've had dinner in Denver last time we played there a couple of years ago, and we hung out in LA, and so and I've only met David once in Seattle a couple of years ago when we played there, and haven't met Devindra, but my other half, Tyler Lyle, in the band, he's based in Atlanta as well, and we're actually playing in Atlanta on the 27th. So you're invited with the family. As I take
thank you so much.
That's lovely, lovely.
Yeah.
I'd love to try. You know, we can't do anything with kids; it's impossible. But
that's
we'll try.
how it is.
Incredible live experience as well.
Yes.
Incredible.
Agreed.
Thank you so much.
All right. So let's get to the movie. M. Night Shyamalan's Trap. Devindra was just pointing out before we began, this is the third Shyamalan movie we've reviewed since the pandemic, right?
That's wild.
Really?
He's just been like on a tear with these small movies. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's start with overall thoughts, right? Tim McEwan, start with you. What did you think of this movie? Did you like it?
I liked it. I had fun. I do think it goes. I don't want to say. I think it jumps the shark a little bit towards the end.
Mhm.
I was all in from the. I had my popcorn, I had my little Coke, and I haven't seen much of Josh Hartnett's work in the last decade or so. So for me, it was. I really just know him from sort of the '90s, Faculty and Halloween H2O and that kind of whole. And he's had this whole renaissance, and it's so amazing to see. He's and he has for some time, I'm sure, but to me, he's really stepped into becoming a really interesting character actor that's making some weird choices. And I love how kind of kooky he plays this role sometimes, even though it leans into it a little much with the camera angle sometimes. But I had fun. Ending is where I like where it goes, but I do think there are some conveniences that are a little. You gotta be ready to swallow them.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
What?
Well, I have like way more questions for you about like the concert part, but I'm gonna save that for the spoiler part because I don't want to get into spoilers. But like, Tim has performed in front of thousands of people before, and so like obviously this movie takes place at a concert, and so like there's all these questions I have about like the verisimilitude and stuff like that. But in the meantime, Devindra, let's get to you. So curious what your thoughts were on Trap.
Yeah. I mean, I was all in on this movie early on. I think it gets increasingly ludicrous and insane. It features some of the worst, I think, like first time acting we've seen in a long time.
Wow.
It is really a rough ride by the end, but
Since
you know
the
what?
last Airbender, maybe.
Yeah, this is the last Airbender. But despite all that, like I genuinely like this movie a lot. I think it's a ton of fun. Fun is the key word here. It is a ride where it could lose you. I could see this ride losing a lot of passengers along the way, like as soon as we shift different locations and whatnot. But I am fully on board the sort of like zany, like when Shyamalan goes a little loony, a little zany, when normal people would step back and say, no, that doesn't make sense. I think Shyamalan just kind of leans into that sometimes. For better or worse. I think there are instances where this movie could have pulled back a little or reshifted things, and we'll talk about this in spoilers. It would have been a more cohesive film, but I still think it's a ton of fun. I'm glad I got to see this in theaters. My crowd was like reacting to all the twists and turns, and that's it. That's cinema. That's why I go to the movies. And once again, Shyamalan delivered another fun cinematic experience.
Yeah. I agree. No one's doing it like him. There's very few people out there that are making these kind of low to mid budget thrillers, not based on any existing IP, and that often have like really compelling central performances, right? Like, I would say Knock at the Cabin, Dave Bautista was awesome in that. Old Gael Garcia Bernal, right? Like, each one of these movies has something for actors to really sink their teeth into. That's very rare in today's day and age. Jeff Kanata, your thoughts on Trap?
Well, Dave, I guess you could say my thoughts on Trap are best summed up in the form of a limerick.
I just want to say I'm impressed. Jeff just got home from this movie.
Yeah.
Like minutes ago.
It's true.
And wrote this limerick under even
Limerick
more
on the
duress
ride.
than usual.
Yeah.
Because he
while
knows
trying to eat
his
lunch
life
at the same
depends
time.
on it. David.
It is. There's a reason
gotcha.
for that, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see the stress in the lines on his face? Sleepless
Here we go.
nights.
M. Night is routinely the chief, mixing tension and clever relief. But the more he explains, the more this one strains. my suspension of disbelief. You guys undersell this. It kind of goes places that
I said
are
ludicrous.
No.
Ludicrous means ludicrous.
No human being acts in a way that a human being acts at any point in this movie. Nothing is tethered to any kind of recognizable reality at any point. I cannot wait to get to spoilers because there are so many profoundly stupid things that we are supposed to swallow in this movie. There are multiple plans revealed in this movie. None of them makes any damn sense whatsoever.
Even the very premise of this movie that is being sold in trailers does not make sense. But okay.
The first 10 minutes of this movie, I went, ooh, this is tough to swallow already.
You probably did you have a sense of what the movie was before you stepped in, Jeff? Because
no idea.
It's in the trailer. That's what Shyamalan wanted people to know.
I didn't know Josh Hartnett was in this.
Okay.
I will say the one good thing about this movie is Josh Hartnett. He is really great, really excellent at what he's asked to do. Yeah. It's just the script is utterly preposterous. Utterly there are so many things that you just there's just no universe where that's the way this goes down. And everyone does the stupidest thing they could possibly do in any given situation. And I get it. I get that we're trying to have this fun thing that, I get we're trying to do this fun thing, but he can't help himself. I think
he can't help it. That's the key. He can't help himself.
Somebody needs to help him because I think this is one of the worst M. Night Shyamalan movies he's done.
Whoa.
Period. I think this is, for me, this is a bad movie. A bad movie. There is some fun stuff. Josh Hartnett is having a great time. It's fun to watch him. I want this guy to get more work. Like, yes, make him a leading man again. I was like, this dude should be the new Scott Summers. I know he's old, but
how would you do that to him? Nobody wants to be Cyclops.
Yeah.
This movie's bad. and I like, by the end, I mean, everything that keeps getting layered on is dumber than the thing before it. And it starts real dumb. And I like, the premise is cool. There's like this kind of Die Hard, trapped in a spot kind of idea behind it. I love, there was a period in the late 80s, early 90s when we were getting like Die Hard on a boat, Die Hard on a bus, Die Hard on, it was just like what kind
Under
of version?
Siege is Die Hard in a train, Sudden Death is Die Hard in a hockey rink.
So the way he's been talking about this, it's not super spoilery, but he was saying Silence of the Lambs in a concert.
Yeah.
And that is kind of the pitch, sort of.
That's a fun idea, and I'm down for Die Hard in a movies. I love a Die Hard in a. This is not good. I'm sorry. There's just too many times where I put my head in my hands going, you've got to be kidding me. There are coincidences and the luckiest thing you could possibly have, and everybody doing the dumbest thing they could do, and just the pure premise, as you said, Devindra, the pure premise, just it makes no sense. Also, one of the most important characters is introduced 20 minutes before the end of the movie. It's just bad screenwriting all around, in my opinion. Dave, what did you think?
Well, thank you for, always appreciate the good rant, and thank you for turning it over to me. And I'll say, for once, I'm on Devindra's side on this one.
What?
It is shocking how polarizing this movie is, because I posted on Threads last night, like, hey, loved Trap. Josh Hartnett is incredible. And one of our listeners named Laura DM'd me on Instagram and said, please tell me this was sarcastic. I literally saw this post on Threads, called my brother, said, let's go to the theater. We both hated the movie. You owe me $39.
I stand with Laura. Laura.
This is the way to put it. Like, Shyamalan made a midnight movie. Hey, Tim.
Yeah. Hey,
he made a midnight movie, and you're either
thank you. The check's in the mail
on that vibe, or or it's just bad. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah. So not only do I like this movie, I think this. Not only do I not think this is one of the worst Shyamalan movies, I think this is top 5 Shyamalan for me. top
That's
5
going too far.
Shyamalan.
Universe am I in right now?
All right, okay. I don't know if I can.
I think this
okay.
is one of my favorite Shyamalan films.
Mhm.
And I think it's largely because Josh Hartnett is so good in this movie,
Was it?
which
Sure,
is something
sure.
you agree with, Jeff.
Yes,
Like
I do.
he is by far the best thing about this film.
This is one of
And-
your favorite Shyamalan movies.
Yes, I think so.
That's almost as
now. That being said,
implausible
I
as this
dislike a
plot.
lot of Shyamalan movies people like. So like,
Mhm,
didn't like
mhm.
Signs. You know, I don't. I
Good
actually.
God.
Okay.
There's a lot of movies of Shyamalan that I don't like. So this is one of my like favorite
Mhm.
one of his. But it's really
I feel
hard
like
to
I've been the twist just happened, and it's Dave liking this movie.
Yeah. Hartnett was awesome, and I also just like all the concert stuff. I personally thought was great, but let's talk about that more in spoilers.
I mean,
think
they literally had to like
Yeah.
write songs, right,
they
for
did-
this.
Well, it's his daughter,
It's his
Right.
daughter's
Oh,
songs.
yeah.
Wow,
Salika.
they're pretty good. I thought they were pretty good.
And actually, it's actually really cool. If you go, they've released a full album of
Mhm.
songs,
Yeah.
and the album is called Lady Raven.
Yeah.
And then in parentheses, original music from the motion picture Trap.
This
so it's,
is how you be a Hollywood papa, right? You
Mhm.
got a daughter who wants to be a pop star.
Yes.
Get all her stuff in here. You got another daughter who wants to direct movies. Okay, I'll executive produce your other movie, which came out a couple weeks before my movie. This guy is on a nepo baby roll.
There
I
is
love it.
something. There is something kind of
Love it.
There is
Baby
something kind
roll.
of cute about, or like kind of like adorable about the fact that like he supports his children so much, he's going to make his daughter into like the biggest star in the world in this movie, and also, by the way, force you to listen to multiple of her songs virtually in their entirety.
Don't you love her work? I also love his daughter who plays, is the lead pop star here. Her costume is basically kind of like a bathing suit, like almost revealing. But I'm sure Daddy Shyamalan would be like, it's too much. We gotta have like a light robe over that. And we're not gonna show you're gonna be a sexy pop star. Don't worry, but light robe. Okay,
Mhm.
not
So-
too much exposure.
Tim,
Mhm.
I'm curious what your thoughts just of the music in and of itself were. Of
Oh
the
yeah,
movie.
yeah. Let's go.
I mean, to me, it's none of the songs in the movie. I'm sitting there going, "Oh my god, I gotta check that out." Like it's not hitting my sweet spot, but that's fine. That's just my personal taste. But I was gonna mention this. I think it's clear that you have. It's clear that she's a real singer. That's clear.
Yeah.
Even though that when there's a scene where she is playing something on a piano
Mhm.
and you hear her sing, and she's supposed to be singing in the moment, and that's clear. That's
Oh, it's like
stu-
recorded in the
studio
studio.
recorded,
Yeah,
recording,
yeah.
so, and I would have loved, since she is an artist, that it's just they do the raw take, so
Mhm.
you get
Yeah.
more of that moment. That's a tiny little nitpick. But as for the concert, I think the songs are clearly written and produced by pro people.
Yeah.
And my manager happens to know the people that actually manage her career in real life and book
wow.
her and stuff. So sort of it's in the world, and she's a legit talent. And then for something that's, yes, always sticks out is, how do you pull off a concert that makes it feel real? It's so hard because you don't have that kind of chaotic, like dirty kind of background and the noise and the chaos. And I think that was one of the things I really noticed. I think that was really well done. It very much, it was clear. Another thing he does to make it, to sell the idea that she's this huge star, is everyone is singing along to those
Yeah.
songs, word by word.
Yeah.
And that's something that helps you buy into the reality of, oh,
Yeah.
yes, this is a big, whatever type of, artist, big star. Everyone knows they're there. They're obsessed. They're not just there to see it. They want to sing along. That's like
Right.
a little subtle hint, a little subtle thing that
Right.
helps
When
to
you
sell
go
the
to the-
reality.
You want to be an extra in my movie? You got to learn my daughter's songs.
Yeah, you gotta learn yeah, exactly.
As I was watching it, I was like, he must have given these songs
Yes.
to all
All the
'cause
extras.
I don't think there's a lot of
This
green
is-
screen happening. I feel.
Yeah.
I mean, they
Yeah.
know they put on. I watched some behind the scenes and interview. They put on a real show,
Yeah.
and this is in
Mhm.
a real arena. So you got to hire at least 10,000 people. To
Again,
kind of be in
dads,
there.
what are you doing to
Yeah.
help your child's
Exactly.
pop
I'm
career?
gonna call my parents and be like, nah, see,
Yeah.
watch this.
Yeah.
What have you
Yes,
done
when
for
you
me
when
lately?
you go to the Midnight's concert, it's like everyone's singing along with all the songs, and it's
This-
like it really
this is
helps.
true.
And if they're not singing, they're mouthing. You
They
know,
get
and it's
thrown
just
out.
like Yeah,
They're not saying we booed him. No.
Yeah,
but it did seem like they were taking more intermissions than a normal concert.
Oh, yeah.
I've
well,
been
that's
to.
the most unrealistic thing about the movie.
That's what
is
I noticed.
There
It's
is
a
no
little-
way that Riley would spend that much time away from the concert during the concert.
And
I
and
would
they
agree with
just,
that.
there's a little offhanded remark like, let's go do this while they set up for the next song. Like, that's not a thing unless there is an actual intermission. You don't like, all right, guys, take 5.
All
We're
right,
gonna
5 minutes.
go get a drink. 20,000.
Do you have
people.
a goal when you're the midnight, like what is the time in between songs? Like
It's not so much there's a time. It's I mean, this is my better half in the midnight, Tyler Lyle. He's the lead singer, and he reads those moments. It's really, you get there's an ebb and flow and a journey to a show, and he's so expert at kind of reading the room and feeling out and you naturally build through a show with our MD. As
like feeling out when to start the next song versus like when to talk
it's
to
like
the
a
audience,
moment.
you
Is there a
mean?
little okay between our song Gloria and Lost Boy? We'll have a little moment and say hi to people, and you kind of read those moments. But sometimes you want to go
into the lobby and have an interaction with their dad. For
exactly. All right, these guys needs 15. Let's just like calm it down. Oh, this guy looks like he needs to pee, guys. You kind of read the room, and so sometimes it's like bang straight into the other things to keep the momentum going. The next song, and sometimes it's like, let's take this moment and all be present together, because it's all an interaction. It's a feedback loop from the audience, and they're like almost a separate band member, because you're playing with them, right? It's an energetic thing.
Indeed. All right, so much more to discuss for our review. So let's get to spoilers so we can talk about everything. Spoilers for Trap starting now. All right, but before we get to the end, which is obviously going to be a huge part of this conversation, I just want to ask Tim, like, were there any other parts of this concert where you saw what was depicted on screen and you thought, oh, wow, they totally nailed that part of concerts? Because from my perspective, it felt like a really well done, like not the greatest concert ever, but it's like, oh wow, they really put a lot of work into making sure this felt like an authentic concert. Like there's this one moment when the woman says, I want you all to think about someone you forgive, and then when you thought of that person, turn on the light on your phone. And it's like, that's the kind of inane patter that I would expect from a pop show of this type. Of course, present company excluded. So I'm curious if there's anything else you saw that you're like, oh wow, they nailed that part of the concert.
I think it's as a whole. I think there's no other specifics I can think of, but there was one thing that I was like, no way would this ever happen if I may. And that's when the merch guy, who I love, I forget his name. What's his name? The merch guy, I forgot his name.
Yeah.
Jonathan Langdon, the merch guy that helps him out. He's like, can I come with you? And the merch guy's like, sure, come backstage.
Sure, come hang out.
It's like,
you're just highly locked down.
What is happening right now? First of all, I just want to say, we're not playing arena level shows, so we've never played. Actually, our band has played with it. We opened up for Odessa last year, and that was fantastic.
Oh wow.
But we haven't played a headline show in an arena, so we're not playing those size venues yet. Anyway, which is why I need to support. You can Venmo us. You can. Just kidding.
I have to ask you though, Tim, if authorities came to you and were like, somebody coming to your concert, we know for a fact is a renowned serial killer or a terrorist or something, how would you guys go about helping build the concert?
They actually did do that, and coincidentally, it was the same night I was attending their concert.
And yet you're still free. You're still free. Yeah,
so that was weird. Ruin the vibe, as it were, right now.
That was weird. But yes,
but
would you accept
receiving a call after this podcast? David?
Would you accept the mission, Tim McEwan?
Listen. The amount of times that's happened, if I had $1 for every time there's a serial killer in our shows, kidding, we love you guys.
That's a target demo.
I mean, really, this is.
They were inspired by Drive, so
anyway. This is what Jeff was saying. You were saying I can't even buy into this. I kind of love that. This is what I love about M. Night, is that the premise is so bonkers that you have to buy into that. If you're going, no way, then I don't think you're going to have fun. But if you go, all right, this whole crazy show is going to get bonkers, and you have to be down for that kind of cat and mouse sort of game.
For sure.
That's kind of what I was starting to say pre-spoilers was like 10 minutes in, when we kind of get the fact that like the FBI has decided that the titular trap is a 20,000 person concert, which is like, no, never in a million years.
Well,
never,
how about this,
ever.
Jeff? It's a giant concert, but also all the police highly visible.
Highly
really put your
visible.
forces out there so the person that
Have
they're
you
targeting
heard
is
of what
aware
a trap is supposed to
that they're
be?
being trapped.
Yes. But the thing I was trying to say is, like, I was willing to swallow that. Like, at that point, I was like, okay, if that's the most you're gonna expect of me to suspend my disbelief, I'll go with you. But that is the baseline of what is preposterous and bonkers about this movie. Like, that's the problem, is that it starts insane. It starts ludicrous, and it just goes even more unhinged from there, and that's my problem.
I do like the buildup though. Like when Shyamalan is cooking, right? Like it's just the character looking at something. Cops over there.
Yeah.
A lot of glances, a lot of like visual storytelling, and I like it. Like I just enjoy that aspect of it. So like as it's almost like he's building a stew, right? He's building a stew. It's getting a little too hot. The pot's overflowing, but by that point, I'm all in on it. Like that's I feel more like
it's a glass bottle of Crisco inside an oil fryer.
You're describing gaslighting.
Man.
That's what you're describing.
Yeah, but it's like if I was along for that ride, and when I think of like an actual midnight movie, a movie that on some levels may not be considered quote unquote good in some respects, but that I enjoy, and I enjoy the ride that I have with people. Like I went to this movie, I had to go to the bathroom once at one point. I zoomed out of there and came right back in because I was like, this movie's cooking. There's something always happening. I almost ran
into the bathroom.
I almost ran into somebody else who was doing the same thing. Like everybody else is like, I can't miss anything about this movie. People were running out of there, running back in.
Yeah, you don't want to miss any minute of it.
Yeah. That was the way that was revealed of him going to the bathroom and looking at his phone. That was pretty cool, I will say.
Before, Jeff, I sense a Jeff Canada rant coming, and I want it to come. I want the rant to come. Okay, but before we do that, just to cover off on Tim's point, Tim, if one of your people was like, "Hey, come backstage with us to get the t-shirts," they probably wouldn't be working for you the next leg of the tours.
It would be like, we need to have a chat, and also at a huge venue, like, there's just no universe where the merch guy is so like, "Hey, nice to meet you. You're a firefighter. Oh, I like you. You're cool." It's like, you are busy, bro. Get back to work. and you're not like, what? Are you just trying to make friends here? What's going on?
I think a lot of people have also taken issue with the fact that he discloses their plan to catch a serial killer to the one guy that looks like he might actually be a serial killer in the entire arena.
A good dad can't be a serial killer.
No,
and he's a firefighter.
He's a firefighter.
Good dad.
Why are you being so judgy, David?
Yeah, it's so good.
I mean, I think if I may, just to kind of speak to Devinder's point about sort of the setting things up, what I think M. Night is his superpower is those still moments of tension and build. That's where you can tell that's where he loves to be. That's where he started his career. Sixth Sense, Signs,
Unbreakable.
Village,
Unbreakable. All that. That's like, it's when he gets into like witty, snappy dialogue and people being people, which no one speaks.
No one speaks like any.
Some of the actors are great and they do a good job trying to deliver this insane dialogue. And then there's some of the actors where I go, what's happening here? The mom of the other teenager that keeps, meeting him.
Oh man.
I'm like,
what about I
didn't like
profiler
the profiler.
lady?
Yeah.
Haley Mills, the Parent Trap star herself, is the profiler.
Yes.
Just
really
insane.
Wow.
Yeah, it's Haley Mills.
I did not catch that. That's wild.
Yeah.
I just think that's where I kind of like, why can't we just be normal human beings?
A great example of what you're talking about, Tim, is the moment in that preposterous moment backstage, or at the boxes, where he hands them the knife, the cutter, the box cutter. That's pure Shyamalan. That's like handing him the box, handing the weapon to the man the audience knows is the butcher.
It also catches focus in the perfect way. Like it's soft focus and then.
That's the stuff that he excels at, and you're absolutely right. There are a few moments of that, and there are a few great moments of stillness and tension, and like
I'm thinking mainly about the kitchen scene is where towards the end it's like this is what I want. That's where and the power shift between him slowly and Allison Pills sort of suddenly got the power, and you realize, oh, she knew exactly what she was doing. And that tension is his bread and butter. And I think that's what he does so well. That's what he loves to do, is my sense. And that's kind of what I want. When he starts trying to write teenagers and, hey, dad, and ooh, and kind of the over animated, like, I like how almost there was kind of a Nicolas Cage quality to Josh Hartnett's kind of approach, which I like. Sometimes the kind of close-ups are a little OTT a little over the top for my taste, but that's more of a direction thing. And
people are staring directly at the camera too.
Yeah.
Which is such
it gets a little much. It's like overused.
It's a little much, but it's also really disturbing, right?
Yes,
like it's kind of it's disturbing to have that happen in a movie. Yeah. He's using Luca Guadagnino's cinematographer too, so like there is like a sheen to this movie that feels new for him too.
What is great about Josh Hartnett's performance is every moment is calculated, right? It's like you clearly see the gears turning. He's like, how do I seem like a normal person in this situation? And so I just thought the performance was wonderful and drove like is enough on itself. In and of itself is enough to sustain this movie for me. Okay, Jeff Kanata, gonna turn it over to you. What's your list of things that you don't like about this movie?
What could you possibly not like about this movie?
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Go, Jeff. Where do I start? I mean, so the premise of this movie is that this dude's wife suspected. I just want to step through it. Suspected that
you're starting at the top.
Her husband might be the butcher.
Yes.
A person whom she has said in the movie caused her actual nightmares, her and her friends' nightmares, thinking about the possibility that the butcher might exist at all.
I mean, to be fair, she could have just been putting that on, but
she was saying that in response to Lady Raven.
Okay.
Yes.
So like, what is the calculation there?
Her idea as to what to do about that suspicion is to take a receipt from his wallet for a concert he's taking his daughter to.
Good dad.
Tear it so that you can't, I guess, see the seat number.
Wait, I didn't catch that.
What? You got it. Very specific. M. Night is saying it was torn so that people are like, wouldn't the fucking seat number be on the tickets?
It's sort of like a honeypot of evidence, you know. If the full receipt was there,
that would be an orgy of evidence.
A little too much.
Why would she give the cops everything they needed to actually look into this?
No.
Sends her daughter off with the man
killer.
She thinks so much that could be a serial killer that she left evidence for the cops to discover.
Now that you're laying it out like that, it does raise the question of why she expended so many police resources. In the
this could have been
pursuit of this guy.
You know what? The best way for them to lay a trap for my husband is to let them know he's going to a 20,000 seat venue.
You clearly have never been
date and time.
with a serial killer, Jeff. That's how it goes.
Jeff, here's my headcanon. And how to explain this is...
I'm not even halfway through with the
premise.
I know.
Go ahead. I'm gonna turn it back to you. But my headcanon on that point is... She's kind of like a fatalist, you know. She's kind of like, oh, maybe they catch him, maybe they don't. Like, I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit of clues, and then if he catches it, great. And if they don't, then I'll keep living with him.
It's true. He's a good husband. Yeah, he's a good dad. He's taking care of the kids.
She wins either way.
She's just moving the needle slightly.
She's like, hey, let's tap in the needle. Let's just see what happens if this, you know. Let's see if a massive.
She's not saying he is the butcher. She's saying he may be.
He may be.
Maybe. Let's follow that line of thinking. If he is not the butcher, she has planted evidence against her husband.
Yeah.
Okay,
so true.
Coming around, Jeff. Go on.
She would have to then. Let's say they find out he's not the butcher, but we found your receipt in this house.
You just set up your husband. He's going away for life.
Oops.
She also had the video. She had the video from the news thing that she was watching.
Who hasn't made mistakes in their marriage?
Listen.
Response to that.
Marriage is
tough.
tough.
By the way, the video. We've got a number of different people, one of whom we have identified the smallest tattoo known to man on their wrist. All right.
Let's just hope he doesn't cover it up by some means.
So
there wasn't a wristband around.
The cops at the house where let's be really clear. This is an empty house with no physical evidence of a crime. It is an empty house with a table and chair. That is established.
Yeah.
There's no evidence of a crime. They have somehow determined that this house was used by the butcher. How? No explanation about that.
You're overthinking it, Jeff. Don't worry
about it.
about
We know that the butcher has been using empty houses. I guess we don't have any. There's no information about how we know that's the butcher's. Like, were there bodies found in those houses? We don't know. We know the bodies were found like in the snow, but we never see a body in a house, or we don't know why. Okay,
Jeff, if you walk into a room and there's only a table and a chair, you
and a receipt,
you can
a psychopath.
Clearly, a psycho was there.
A psycho lives here.
Have you not lived? God, get with it.
I can't argue with that logic.
Yeah.
So, in response to that hard evidence, they reach out to Ariana Grande and they say, "Ma'am,
we're gonna set a trap.
We know that one of the 20,000 people that are coming to your show is a serial killer because he left this torn receipt. We don't think it's maybe one of the victims that he had. We know that it's him. We are certain. Why? Well, we got this old lady, see, and she's caught 10 of these guys because
now get out of here, kid. You bother me.
Profiler.
She's a profiler. She knows all about these dudes.
Yeah.
What does she use to profile him? All the evidence.
Psychology.
That we don't have. We know nothing about this guy other than he's going to be here. He's going to be here, and he's probably one of these 8 people that we saw.
We know what he knows up until the very end. We know what he knows. So we're like information limited as an audience. I would say though, if you're Ariana Grande, you get that call, you'd be like, so you're going to hide all the cops, right? You're going to hide them?
Yes.
So
no. We're going to randomly pull people out of the audience one by one. And what is her plan? What is this brilliant profiler's plan? We are going to question them.
Every single one of them.
Every single one.
Yep.
What question are you the
did you do it?
Are you the killer?
Be honest.
Okay. And even weirder, Josh Hartnett is terrified of these questions, even though he literally bullshits every person that he meets. But he can't withstand some questions. Like, literally dozens of guys at this concert have been questioned and set free.
Well, he has the tattoo, though. That would be
he's got the tattoo, Jeff.
That's a little...
They're going to find the tattoo.
Well, I guess that's not because he did cover it up. So
with the wristband.
Problem solved.
Yes.
Problem solved.
Can I mean, one thing I think as you're laying this out, thank you for doing that. It's true. And I'm just thinking, if this was a show where you go, all right, Ariana Grande, or let's say, Tim and Tyler, you're playing a show.
Or The Midnight.
The Midnight, you're playing a show, and there's going to be a serial killer. We've got to tip off. We're going to set up this trap. There's going to be lots of police. But just do your show, like get people backstage.
Pull somebody out of the audience.
Don't kill the vibe.
Make sure they have their dad side stage, and you want to leave out. You go out in the go in the back. You guys cool, and it's like Tim. All right, no one comes backstage.
What they'll say to you though, Tim, is we're gonna give them a code word.
Yeah.
Only the good people know the code word.
Code word and a card and the card, Jeff.
No picture ID. It's fine.
Yes.
Which he happens to. Conveniences.
Yeah. It's like there is a segment. By the way, Tim, there's a serial killer in the audience, but by all means, feel free to randomly pull someone off the audience and put them on stage.
Feel artistically creative.
There's no downside to that. There's no downside.
Go with start that dialogue with the audience. Really lean into it. Yeah.
She should announce up front, hey, we may randomly pull you into a dark room during this movie. Just a heads up.
Yeah.
And I love how every single person with a radio needs to know the top level strategic decisions of the cognoscenti. Like the top FBI people are like, you know what? Give all the security guards
100%.
Oh, and also that speech the guy is like, do you see this? The kind of person he killed, he was a school teacher. These are the good people. Oh man,
they should win.
They
and then
should
you're right.
win.
Her calm sort of like the serial killer has moved towards the entrance. We are finding. It's like, wait, you're telling everyone? Wait, what's happening right now? The police like they've moved towards the end. I feel like, isn't there a scene where like one of the kitchen staff on the roof or someone is like, oh, I'm hearing, and you're like, how do you know this? You sell
I
merch.
didn't see the kitchen staff.
Maybe it was some,
but,
I don't know. I feel like they all were in on all this info, like Jeff
There's
said.
so many more things we could talk about, but I want to now shift over to the other plan.
It's a plethora
Because at a certain point,
absurdities.
Josh Hartnett, who is, I will say, what fun I did have with this movie, which, was a frustrating level of fun, but there was some fun. I will admit, I had some fun with watching him, be savvy and outsmart everybody at every turn.
It's very much Dexter, except he's trapped
Yeah.
in a
Yeah, he's always
It's like a
gonna
cat
be
and
the
mouse. Nice
He
cat and mouse
kills him
dynamic.
with kindness. He does very smart things. He lifts,
Yeah, and he
that's
flips
all
on a
fun
dime
stuff.
like a true psychopath.
But then there's that one turning point where he pulls Ariana Grande into the room, and he says to her, he comes clean. He says, "You got me.
You got me."
He
Which
knows
is a cool moment.
he's done for.
But from that point on, what the fuck is his plan?
Well, I think he's making it up.
Well,
as
his
he
plan
goes
was, "Hey, let us out at this corner."
Yeah,
that was
let
the
us
plan.
out.
And then what? And then she knows
then he
what he
goes.
looks like.
Yeah,
is he going to
but
go back to his life?
Don't overthink it, Jeff. Don't worry about it. You're overthinking
They drive back to his house. Now she knows where he lives with his family.
Well, that was not part of his plan. Like,
Of course not. Of
Yeah.
course
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
But he continues to attempt to hide the truth from his family. Like, okay, and by the way, she has the worst driver security guard guy of all time.
Just hanging out there.
Of all time. Hey,
Well,
just
also she texts call the police, and it takes like forever. Like, I thought when Josh Hartnett like pulled up the garage, they're gonna be there already. Right?
Me too.
Sure.
No. And she has a usable phone. What does she use the phone for? Let's talk to my fans.
Gotta go live, Jeff. Millions of fans.
The police move at the speed of plot. David.
I gotta say that part was also kind of cool. That was also cool when she did she's like, "Hey, live now." I don't know that the details she provided would have been adequate, and there's probably lots of people with lions on their doorsteps that have gotten their
I like
house
that.
invaded.
I like
If
that.
Taylor Swift did this, if Taylor Swift did this to all her fans, they would zero locate that person in 5 minutes.
The idea of crowdsourcing a solution is a fun screenwriter idea until you interrogate it at any percent. Because
I bought that actually. I had that would do. Okay, can I?
Go ahead,
see, I'm in a band.
Retort.
No, that is. I mean, we're blessed with having no serial killers in our fan base. Thank God
that you know of.
And if you find out, don't tell me. I don't want. I want to be blissfully unaware. No, what you realize is. We'll sometimes do little scavenger hunts or like little, teasers for something, building something, a release or whatever.
Right.
And our people are like so dialed in and they're obsessive and we think, oh my God, they're never going to figure this out. If it's some little clue to a treasure hunt or whatever. And an hour later, like they're talking across the world, and they figured it out. And so I completely bought into the premise that these obsessive fans would they would do anything. And
can I tell you how that entire thing would have been fixed for me? Her first call is to the FBI or 911, and they put her on hold. That's all you need to do. Yeah. And she's like, I don't have time for.
Yeah. Okay. Gotta go to
now
social
I'm going to go to my
media.
fans. Now it's a brilliant idea.
She must have the profiler on speed.
I don't agree with you. Like the
call
fans,
the freaking cops. That's the first thing you do.
The fans have more information than the cops, Jeff.
I kind of hear you, Dave. I kind of agree.
The fans
they're going to work
the fans are going to literally in that situation. The fans will be able to solve your problem better than the cops.
I agree. This is a sticky wicket. I totally agree. I will tell you all the moment where this movie starts to fall apart for me. Come on, Jeff. But is the moment where M. Night Shyamalan decides his daughter is not only going to be the headline concert star of the movie, it's when she becomes a main character with dialogue leading the actual investigation. I'm like, oh, buddy, you went too far. You gave her a whole concert. She does not need to be a part of this investigation. And now you proceed to give her the dumbest things, like the dumbest things possible. Like, oh yeah, let's leave this concert. take me to another location, please.
I did appreciate.
Why
I
did she
did.
leave the security guy behind?
Yeah.
There's no.
Yeah.
She has the perfect cover. Like, yes, come with me into the room.
Their
into the
team
house.
would always be with them, right?
Yeah.
Right, Tim. I'm sure, like all of your people, all of your
They have
fans,
so much security
assistants,
around
and
me right now. They're out
butler.
of frame, but God, they're here because they
All
know
with
what
you
kind
at
of
all
crazy
times.
people you are.
They're all in the limo. Like an assistant, at least, would be.
That's
in the
another
limo.
thing. That's another
Yeah.
tiny nitpick, and I kind of hate myself for, this is silly, but
Please,
there,
please.
there's tour buses you see in the beginning of there, and everyone, a door opens, all the fans are like, ah! And then it's a security guy, and then the next door open, and finally she comes out. So she's on tour in the buses. So why is there a limo? It's not like there's a
Where's she
limo
going?
connected to the venue.
Some pizza in town.
Her whole life would be in that tour bus. She wouldn't have a limo. I mean, she could, but it's like they're going to the next state or city,
Right.
and then same night.
Maybe
And
she wants to get a fresh Philly cheesesteak.
You never
also,
know.
It's a multi-night event at this venue. So maybe
I didn't
right.
pick up
so
on that.
so maybe they're going to different locations.
Davis
Catching
Stern.
multiple serial killers. Next night, another guy come in. It's like, well, we better. This is a 3-nighter, guys. We got 3 crazy guys.
Yeah.
I did love.
yeah.
Go on, Devindra.
Jeff. Sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. Tim. Go ahead.
No, Devindra, you've been.
I was saying something like I just feel really bad for Suleika Shyamalan. Like I
Really?
think her dad, because I think she's a fine singer, right? She can highlight the concert portion of this movie.
Yeah.
Then her dad writes her the speaking role and the role where she has to start doing stuff. I'm like, oh buddy, they're gonna was it who is it? Sophia Coppola. They're gonna Sophia Coppola you with this.
What does
movie.
that mean? What's that
Godfather
reference?
3, where everybody calls her the worst part of
never
like
seen
you
Godfather 3.
killed.
I thought
that
she
movie
was
for me.
fine.
Yeah,
She's
I thought
okay,
she
but-
was
I thought she was
fine.
fine.
Also,
What she
but it
does
also-
is stupid.
It
but-
gives her the dumbest things
writing.
to do.
Yeah.
It
I
gives
think
her the
s-
dumbest things to do. So
Look,
it's a combination of her being fresh, the dialogue not being great, and the character itself having very stupid things to do. Like it's a bad combination for that character. Yeah.
If can I push back on that a little bit as someone who, I
Sure.
mean, we all work in sort of the similar industry and creative, but very public. I think we need to normalize. I would like in this world that we normalize a little bit people doing things and trying things and failing,
Sure.
and that's okay.
Sure.
I mean, I agree. You're talking about the backlash that can come from social media and people. Oh my gosh, she sucks. It's
Right.
like, but you know what? I hope that's not her experience. And I also love that she happens to be in this movie where her father is an incredible, talented writer and director and all that stuff. And of course, you're gonna take whatever role he's writing her a lead role towards the end. Kind of, she becomes the lead investigator as we.
This is
establish.
what the key
cares?
phrase
I think
here.
she was great.
Yeah.
He can't help himself. We have said that a couple of
That's
times.
true.
And I feel like this is another situation where like I did build a whole concert around her, and she is basically the Taylor Swift of this universe, right? But she's also got to help solve this case.
Well,
She's also like,
Do you guys think that
Yeah.
a Taylor Swift level celebrity it leaves a concert venue in a limousine and that's it? Nobody, they just can go wherever they want after the concert?
no,
I would probably come down to her team, to be honest.
Yeah, presumably
It's nothing to do with the venue.
There's a scene where she's talking to Josh Hartnett. First of all, like I love that scene because it presents this really interesting question. Like, if you're her, what do you do?
What do you do?
I like those predicaments.
That's cool. And presumably, then it then cuts to they're walking out of the arena. So Jeff, presumably at some point, she said to her team, "Hey, security guys, just stay back for this one.
Yeah.
I got
Right.
this." You know?
But then
Well,
I
leave-
would say that security hired for the venue, they're not her personal that we know of. They're
Yeah.
all security or police. Right? I mean, unless she has a police escort, but that doesn't look like that's established. They're there at the venue to catch the killer. And then it's her job to then go, I'm going to go get a pizza.
Sure.
You can't just be like, security guy over corner, go with, he's like, I'm working. Like I work here for the venue. So that's just not how that would play down.
I think the big flaw there is also he would never be in a room with her alone. Like that's the other.
No,
That's
Yeah.
the other.
Probably.
Like,
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
random
There would
guy
be
that
her
we just
people
pulled from
around.
the audience where we're worried that there's a serial killer.
Yeah.
Let's come into the closet with me. Just come hang out.
Baseline, everybody knows that that's going on, and all this stuff happens.
And the next room, the FBI profiler's there.
Yep.
We've got we were now expecting him to make the next move, and I know exactly. We're covering all the.
Oh my
exits
god!
and-
Now I realize why
Okay.
Haley Mills is in this movie. Parent Trap.
Oh, Trap.
He's a genius.
Trap.
He's a genius. Oh my god.
Yeah.
And he's a parent.
And he's a parent.
He's a parent.
Yeah.
And he trapped his daughter in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Who's
To
the
cover
real
off-
Trap?
To cover off on what you were saying earlier, about like the Salika's experience with this. You know what? I agree with everything you said, and I think that I hope people don't make fun of her too bad. And just to show them, I streamed the album a few times after I got home from the movie.
Well done.
So you didn't
She
buy the
needs
album.
She needs
Yeah, you
No,
didn't
I'm
get like
not.
actual
I'm not
royalty
spending my
dollars.
money on that,
Yeah.
but I
You'll
am
give her
willing to-
cents.
I am
You'll give
willing
her
to-
pennies.
I'm willing to add some streams.
It's really
to the
nice of
album.
you. She can buy a Diet
very
Coke.
nice.
And I
for that
thought
money.
it's perfectly cromulent R&B album. I just want to put that out there. Okay.
Mhm, mhm.
I love
Um,
the word cromulent. Thank you.
And so the other, like, I can't abide this movie expecting me to think this is how the world works. Moments of the very end of the two moments of, hey, let him ride the bike, let him pick the
Dude,
bike up, everybody.
That's on my notes. I'm like,
And then
Yeah.
the other
out.
one, the other one is and it's an 80-yard line. Like they tested it, and people are like, "There's no fucking way," and they're like, "Oh, we'll just throw in a line." The 80-yard line of Haley Mills screaming, "Let her through!" And when she
Yeah.
goes to hug her dad,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
hugging
Yeah.
the serial killer and
let
Yeah.
her through.
And
In what universe?
yes. Also,
Mhm.
a little thing right before that, when he gets tasered in the house, he's speaking to his imaginary mother, and really it's the the profiler.
Yeah.
And anyway, he gets tasered, but then he manages to, I guess he's just this superhuman strength.
Yep.
And he manages
He's drugged and tasered by
and
that
he's
point.
jumping on the FBI, on the guy and the
Yeah.
SWAT team guy, and he's like mashing down his eyes.
That guy's dead. That guy never
it's
gets back
wait,
up.
Wait, you would have guns. There would be a taser, but then
Yes.
you're like ready to shoot
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
serial killer. That wait,
That is
what
now
are we doing,
attacking
guys?
a
And I was
I
like,
want to be clear.
give
That
him some
FBI
space for the
agent
bike.
he had his eyes gouged out. He
Yes.
never got back up.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
he's dead.
Let
we didn't
him
even
pick
see
the
it.
He's
bike
gone.
up. He's just
Let
a
him pick the
dad.
bike.
He's just a dad. Let her through.
It's a true fact. It's a true fact, Tim. I recently served on a jury, and I heard testimony from a police officer, and they have like a formation that they typically use where like they start with a taser, but then there's somebody on the side that has a lethal weapon in
Of
case
course
they need to use
would.
it.
Yes,
Um,
it's their
and
job.
It's
to
weird
stop
that it's
the killer.
maybe it's actually a commentary on how white men get treated better
Yeah,
by
indeed.
our law
Maybe.
enforcement,
Okay.
We firmly believe this
That's
guy is a
really-
vicious serial killer
You know
with
what?
10.
I'm willing to give him
10
that
victims.
benefit of the
Let's
doubt.
give it
I
the
actually
benefit
like
of
that.
the doubt.
I
Okay.
like
Yeah.
that.
Also,
Co-
he's called the Butcher, and he's gonna kill this dude with carbon dioxide poisoning.
Well, the butchering
I
comes
guess.
after, Jeff. First you
yeah,
knock
'cause-
him out.
First you knock him out, and then you do the butcher.
Then you
My
nice him
butcher
up.
was like
Alive.
hacking and slashing.
Why would you butcher just like a real butcher, Jeff? Do you
Yeah,
think
just like a
do you
real
think
butcher.
butchers like are cutting into sheep and stuff while
Yeah,
they're
what's
alive?
going on? What's going on?
Jesus, Jeff.
What kind of
Never
monster are
killed
you,
an
Jeff?
What
animal with your
image.
bare hands,
I know,
Jeff.
guys, I know nothing about butching.
We know you hate animals, though. So, anyway.
Okay, two things I wanted to say. One is I appreciated that they have literally the biggest star in the world use all of her detective star power to save one Asian dude. I gotta
true.
give Shyamalan credit for that. It's like, hey,
Normally forgotten in these
yeah,
movies.
normally
as
the
the first
Asian
one's
characters
dead,
are
maybe.
forgotten. They saved this Asian guy, and I'm like, you know what?
Yep.
Can't hate a movie for having that as one of the endings.
That's true.
I think,
Speaking of the endings,
yep,
speaking of the endings,
Before we get to the ending, sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't know you were.
well,
I
I
was
was just
gonna
gonna say, like,
comment on
I just say I really liked the final. You know, I when I first saw it, I was like, really, that's the moment where you're gonna end the movie. But I think it reminded me a lot of No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
Anton Chigurh, basically like minor spoilers for that movie, but like the way that movie ends is that guy is kind of still in the wind. Like you don't know where that guy is at the end of the movie, and you just assume he's a force and he goes on, like he continues onward, and that's kind of where I thought it ended with this character, the Josh Hartnett character in this movie.
But before we get there are
Yeah.
a couple of things. I think
Okay.
the thing that maybe annoys me with the Salika like taking over the movie a little bit is that we just spent 90 plus minutes with the daughter, and the daughter just disappears
Yeah.
for those
Yeah.
final scenes where
Yeah.
it's like, I am sort of waiting for the final shoe to drop. Like, it's not
Yeah.
just that the mother kind of set this up, but what does the daughter know? Is she okay with it? because he's a good dad? Is she a closet serial killer? Which has happened in a movie recently. I thought that was a pretty interesting, maybe not recently. It was in the last 10 years, the Costner movie, but good twist.
Right.
Good little, give me something a little different. Does she have sociopathic tendencies too? Huh?
Yeah.
I did like every time the movie where she's like, Dad, you're acting strangely. And I'm like,
weird.
He's never acted strangely before.
Yeah.
Dad,
but also,
the serial killer.
has he ever been normal in this entire movie?
I agree with you. I agree with you, Devindra, that between the two movies this summer that delved into a teenage girl named Riley's feelings, Inside Out 2 did it way better than this one.
It did do it better.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
But this movie does that twice, right? Because we get her and then we abandon her, and then we get
Lady Raven,
the pop star, and we abandon her, and then it's Alison Pill's movie for some reason.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like Alison Pill's the hero, but we didn't even meet her until the last 20 minutes of the movie.
I will say at that point, don't mind. Give me more Alison.
Yeah, Alison Pill's an amazing actor.
I love Alison Pill, but you should have seated her.
I'm not arguing about less Alison Pill. I'm saying we should have had more Alison Pill.
Yeah. It should be more Alison Pill, more daughter. This is a family dealing with a family serial killer problem.
There's a moment where she goes,
the classic problem.
The daughter says something about mom, and I was like, "Oh, there's a mom! Like
there's a mom!
Yeah.
All of a sudden, there's a mom. It's just structurally, it's so weird."
Speaking to that, one thing I would say that I was kind of writing some notes last night after I watched the movie, and I think what I like about this whole this bonkers premise. I think a lesser director or a more traditional kind of horror director would keep the entire story at the venue. It'd be a cat and mouse, and it would be all right. In the end, we catch it. But I kind of like that. I actually love that we leave it's like, wait, where the fuck are we going now?
Yeah.
And so now all bets are off, and then it goes bonkers. It's too many conveniences for me with the. Don't get me started. Okay, I'll run through them, but I love that, and I think that's where in my opinion, that's where we're seeing the sort of the M. Night Shyamalan of it all, taking it further and kind of like, yes, at some points jumping the shark, but I think a more traditional approach would be serial killer at venue. Cat mouse, final kill scene. Oh, I'm dead. We caught him. Yay! Popcorn movie. Here it's like we get to explore a little bit. This guy has a family. We meet the wife. I would have loved to see more, like seeing what's the kid's name? Haley? Is that the daughter's name? Riley. Riley. That we you're right. We don't even know if she finds out. I think she does, but she loves her dad, and I get that. But there's nothing there. But I love the sort of slight exploration in the kitchen scene between Josh Hartnett and Alison Pill, and the kind of power play that's happening there, and kind of seeing how she's known for a while, and suddenly you get an insight into her inner life, and I liked that. And I think a lesser movie wouldn't have even gone there and explored that. It goes off the rails for me, like the bike scene, the tasing, and the eyes. Him suddenly, how do you go? Oh, I'm just gonna pick up this bike because I'm an OCD, guys. I'm a Virgo, and then he's like, so anyway, I really just want to put this bike in right, and he's like taking off the little, and then suddenly he's, I don't know, okay, that's just no, I'm not buying that. But
here's the thing, Jeff, is you are right that the way this movie is structured is really weird, but per what Tim says, it's structured that way so you can have that feeling of, oh my gosh, I don't know what's happening next.
I kind of like that.
And if you structured it normally, you would kind of see it coming at the end. And M. Night wants to preserve that feeling for us,
I get it, but
that feeling of like, oh, where are we? What are we doing here? And I would think, Jeff, as somebody who has
as someone who has an open mind,
repeatedly espoused the unsullied lifestyle, that you would appreciate somebody who's like, hey, I want to preserve this like kind of sense of surprise.
I appreciate that.
And there's trade-offs. It comes with costs, right? Like,
you know that I love movies like this. This movie is so dumb that it offsets any of the coolness of the reveals.
That's fair.
I think this is when there was the original backlash to M. Night way back. This is the kind of thing that people expected of his movies, is that sacrificing any kind of credulity to achieve a whoa moment. But the whoa moments are like, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. When this works best, when these things work best, is that They're set up subtly. You don't see it coming. And oh my God, it had to end this way. It was all, Sixth Sense is that way, is like, oh my God, this was always the movie. Amazing. That's not what I experienced with Trap. Trap was just a series of the most inane,
unfortunate events.
Yes, it was. None of the things would happen the way they happened, and that's
in real life.
Yeah, in any kind of reality.
Are we watching real life though, or are we watching a movie?
Yeah, I think it
where
could be.
rules
I
don't
think M. Night
apply.
knows exactly the movie he's making. Tonally. He knows it's a midnight matinee. It's a go to the movie, have a blast, you laugh, throw popcorn at the screen. I think that's the tone that's what he's trying to do. But
maybe I just wasn't on that wavelength. I think that even with a movie like that, you want people to react to situations in a recognizable way.
Yeah,
100% agree.
And no one does.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But I have to say, for the vast majority of this movie, until we leave the concert, I was on the edge of my seat. I was like, oh, how is he going to get out of this?
Yeah,
like how is
it's
he?
Fun.
But he's digging himself into these holes. Oh, he's in a room full of cops. What's he going to do?
That's part of the thing that I have a problem with, is that he didn't seem to have a problem bullshitting every single person in this world. And you're not going to be able to get past a couple of... He literally walked into a room full of cops, gets by them to get some coffee. Like, he doesn't...
You're right. You're right. I was thinking about, like, what would happen if he just bullshitted his way through it? I do think the tattoo thing may have been because he does fit, like, one specific profile.
Yeah,
they have that video of him.
Yeah. But that's a flimsy one to hang your coat on there to be like, that's why he can't go through the security. Because you're right. What are they going to ask? Like, did you do it? He's like, yeah, sorry. It's not.
Let me look at your arms.
Delete the app on your phone and walk through security.
I will say, though, Jeff, I understand where you're coming from, because I feel like the exact same thing happened when we talked about the movie Run, directed by Anish Chaganty, which I know you love, Dave. I remember you loved it. And that movie is guilty of doing a lot of this stuff too, of like leaning into the ludicrosity of every situation and everything. I'm like, I did not gel with that movie, but I think I gelled with this one because maybe it's Josh Hartnett being a dad. What a good dad. Dad's taken his daughter to a pop star concert. He's probably bored out of his mind, but he's being a good dad. Like, we only ever see him being a good dad. He's a serial killer on the side, but he's also a good dad. It's kind of funny that I'm sure the inspiration for this movie was Shyamalan went to a concert with his kids and dissociated
for sure
during the concert. It was like,
oh, for sure.
What could happen here?
Yeah.
What could I do?
And that's what I love about that premise.
I do agree with you. They started with that premise, right? And he backed out.
It's a great
way of figuring out how can we have some guy trapped in the concert. And then also still wanted to do the twists at the end. So it's like, and those things ultimately, like, as you laid out, don't really all make sense. Like, you could probably do the concert premise somehow without then having the twist that she suspected him all along at the end, right? Like,
the daughter
when they introduce that, it doesn't really make any sense. But anyway,
and there's moments like the I forget that the Riley's friends and they've had a falling out, and there's that, which is just sort of a side thing. It's not really paid off, and that doesn't have to be, but. It's to
we get some payoff there, though, like when she is on stage and we get the cut back to the friends and them screaming at the mom like that.
To see, but that's not really anyway. That's fine, but I think it's just to flesh out the world and give Riley sort of a life and what she's talking to Dad about. That's not cool, and that's crispy and all that silly stuff. But like, why do we have to have the mother of the teenager, the woman he keeps bumping into, and she suddenly's like, you don't want to mess with me, and it's
that
like
is such a weird moment.
I thought that was going to be because it doesn't put him in peril suddenly to security look at because he comes off as the good guy in that like split second. So and then before we know it, he's like, let's have pizza, and she's like, great, and then what? Why? And also the inhaler. Like, why with Chekhov's inhaler? That was the asthma inhaler. I'm like, set up, payoff, knowing M. Night. And it's nothing. It was just
nothing with
she has asthma.
I like the mom character because it's sort of like he's probably pulling from his life. He probably has some parent of a friend of his daughter's, and he's like, that person's a freaking monster. Guys, my kids have been in daycare for 2 years. I've already encountered several of those people who I would describe as absolutely
color.
It's just it's the on the nose. I have a dark side. It's like, oh no, he's really the one who has a dark side.
Maybe that's what it is. It's trying to make a comment. I don't know.
All right. I think we got to wrap it up because we're actually recording this after or before, I should say, the rest of the show. So we got to get to that. But at the end of the day, I personally think #top 5 M Night Shyamalan. That's
an insane position. That is crazy.
You go too far, sir.
That's jumping the
Can't
shark.
help yourself.
So,
it is impressive that M Night Shyamalan made
And
a
hey,
movie.
It is.
I hope he continues. Keep doing these. Keep doing these. Like, you know what? Throw enough spaghetti against the wall. There's been some great ones. Even old, I thought had really flashes of really fun stuff. There's like he
Old
can
is
play
incredible.
in this playground
Yeah.
at this budget level and do really interesting stuff. There's going to be some failures, evidently. I wish there weren't, but it sounds, it seems to me that there
not
are.
this one, obviously.
I think he has
Nailed
figured out like.
I think
Guys,
he's having a lot of fun. Actually.
He's having a lot of fun. We just talked about the next Avengers movie potentially costing at least $500 million.
16 M. Night
I listened to
movies.
that episode.
So I do think
Insane.
this guy has figured out, and it started with him leveraging basically his house
Yeah.
to make what was it? The
Was
movie
that
with the old people.
The Visit, right?
The
Was
Visit.
I didn't
yeah.
see old.
So
I saw the
small
Visit.
movies that he can
Okay.
control and he can
Mhm.
contain and not overspend and have him have full creative reign. Like he has figured out some sort of secret here, and I'm all for it.
Same.
even
Some
if they're not
dads
always
get
good.
their daughters a new car
Yes.
for their 16th birthday. Others write them a movie.
Get them a pop career.
build
Yeah.
a whole concert. But also his other daughter just directed a movie that
Yeah.
he's executive produced. Like it's just the world is filled with Shyamalans now. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
He's clearly
dad like
supporting his kids, and I love that. I mean, I think it's great. I noticed that little line before we ended. A little line in the very beginning. They're in the car, and she's like listening to the songs, and she's like, "Man, I want to become a singer too." He's like, "Yeah, good luck with that." I was like,
That was
"Wait,
pretty funny.
You guys,
Yeah.
you want to be singing? He's like, "Sure, kid." I was like, "Wow, way to support your kid, man."
Well, she was butchering the song, let's be honest.
Yeah, God,
The Butcher.
he should have just killed her.
Like father, like daughter.
yeah.
Yes.
Hey.
All right, that's going to bring us to the end of our review. Thank you so much for watching this video of the Filmcast. Check out these other videos that we have available, and be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get other videos from us in the future.
You can also go to thefilmcast.com to catch all of our audio podcast versions of all of our episodes.
And support this podcast at patreon.com/filmpodcast, where you can sign up for ad-free episodes and exclusive After Darks.
Thanks so much to everyone who makes the Filmcast possible.